Welcome, Bob Culture Stuff. Today we're going to be watching MKBHD, RAZR Plus Impressions. This is what you wanted. As you guys can tell, you guys are getting like a little trends. I watch tech videos, content creator videos, and then food videos. That's basically what's in my algorithm. Until I start getting recommendations on my comments down below, I'll keep doing what the algorithm feeds me, and watching what I was gonna watch regardless. All right, let's hop into it.
Hey, what's up? MKBHD here, and welcome to a hands-on and first look of a really interesting new folding phone, the Moto RAZR Plus. So
I'm already liking how I like the fold phone. I'm currently using the Galaxy Fold 2 as my webcam. I do love the whole fold line aspect of it, but it's just I wait a little bit, and then get the second model of it, because then it perfects what was wrong with the first one. At least that's what it says, right? You go with that's what I'm putting all my pennies on for the Dodge Charger EV. I'm gonna wait for the second wave, the second iteration, and then pick up that bad boy. And hopefully they could fix everything for the first one.
you know how a lot of these foldable phones have kind
But goddamn, it looks great. That Dodge Charger EV. Oh,
of felt like a small bump up from the previous one. They're all kind of similar for both the folding and flipping phones. Well, this one feels like a big jump forward. For the first time in a while, it feels like we're sort of leaping into the second generation of these flipping phone things, and it's pretty obvious why. So this RAZR Plus, which is the fourth generation of the folding phone from Motorola, is going to have a gigantic screen on the outside cover. Now, gigantic
ooh, they got a Snorlax colored one. I'm sold. I'm buying it. No, I'm chilling with my Snorlax. Samsung. Look at this beautiful lilac color.
gigantic is, of course, a relative
That's
term.
really cool. The moving JPEG. That's really cool.
But in a small phone that folds in half and fits in your pocket, having a 3.6-inch 144 hertz POLED display that goes basically corner to corner all the way around the front and even has pixels around the cameras and the flash cutouts is pretty dramatically different from what we had before. Now, the rest of the phone is pretty solid too, right? I can't quite call it a flagship since it doesn't really have the highest end available specs, but it's pretty close. Feels like upper, premium mid-range, and the retail price is going to be $999 when it launches in a few weeks this summer. They've kind of slowly dropped the retro throwback aesthetic from the first generation of this thing, and they've tightened up the edges and
Oh, this is the second iteration. It's a sign.
modernized the whole thing. The huge chin is gone, and inside it's a Snapdragon
I forget that Razors with Motorola.
8 Plus Gen 1, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, and a decent-sized 3800 milliamp hour battery with 30-watt charging and 5-watt wireless charging.
I've been watching these videos for a long time. The only thing I understand from that from those infographics is how much battery it has. I'm not gonna lie.
So yeah, not any sort of crazy world beater flagship specs, but still pretty solid. I will note that the 3800 milliamp hour battery is 1,000 milliamp hours greater than the previous gen RAZR. This thing only had a 2800 milliamp hour battery, so that puts it right in line with the current Z Flip, the 4, which has a 3700 milliamp hour. And then on the inside, the main folding display is a 6.9-inch 22:9 1080p POLED display, and it's a 165 hertz LTPO display. It's not the brightest thing I've ever seen, but hey, for a folding phone, I think it looks really good. It's got the hole punch selfie camera at the top. The bezels are even thinner, and the crease, it's not revolutionary. It's about as subtle as I've seen in some other folding phones with its redesigned aluminum hinge mechanism. It definitely disappears when you're looking at the content and just using the phone, but none of that is why this feels like a new generation. It feels like a new generation, of course, because of the giant outside display. So let's talk
Looks so nice.
about it. This new outside display is really interesting for two reasons. One, because it's basically what we're also expecting based on the rumors and leaks from what we've seen of Samsung's next flip, the Flip 5. It's probably also coming out later this summer. But also, two, because it does throw a
Probably not gonna upgrade though. This phone has been really good to me. This phone's been really good to me. I cannot complain. With the previous one, I had before this, I had the last iteration of the Note Ultra, Note 20 Ultra, and the only reason I upgraded is because it was 4 years later, 3 or 4 years later.
Wrench in like how you use a phone like this. So like I said, this is a 3.6 inch 144 hertz display that basically covers the
Oh, it has
entire
a little fan picture
outside
too.
of this phone, right up to you get near the hinge where I assume the digitizer is. The two primary cameras, a 12 megapixel
Oh, it even showed the picture. That's so cool.
primary and the 13 megapixel ultra wide slash macro, and the flash are cutouts with even more pixels around them and in between them. And so you can basically do anything you want on this outside screen. In its resting state, it's just a clock, of course, but you can change between a bunch of different clock styles. They all have black backgrounds, so they look pretty seamless on the OLED. You also get some basic notifications at the bottom left corner and the ability to manage those notifications. When you swipe down from the top, you have a whole bunch of quick controls, things like brightness and Wi-Fi and a flashlight and whatever media is currently playing. But then, when you wake it up and unlock with a swipe up from the bottom or a fingerprint unlock, you basically get this entire home screen with a wallpaper and a bunch of pages of these things, widgets, shortcuts, etc. Now, these are limited preset pages. They're actually called panels, and you can turn them on or off or rearrange them in the settings. But they do have a variety of things. There's a home panel with the clock and the weather and shortcuts to other panels. But then, of course, a calendar panel and a weather panel and a contacts panel. And you can put them in whatever order you want. There's also a Spotify one. Apparently they've worked with Spotify to create this perfectly optimized one, and I do think it looks pretty good. But also, you can just use whatever app you want on the outside screen. There is a settings page that lets you enable almost any app on your phone to work on the outside screen and control the continuity settings, so when you open and close the phone, the app stays open, which is super useful. Honestly, it sounds pretty great since you can take photos and navigate with Google Maps and pay with GPay and do all kinds of convenient stuff without even opening the phone. That's the whole point of the outside screen. But it also goes so much further than that. You can make and receive phone calls with the phone still closed. You can use a whole scientific calculator on the outside screen. There's a whole keyboard for typing out messages if you want, to send emails or text messages from the outside. There's even games. Of course, these are bordering on gimmicky, but there's literally games that Motorola built to play on this outside screen, like this one where you feed the marble to the end of the maze, which is, of course, the camera cutout. Like, you can watch YouTube videos on this thing if you want to. It's going to be a weird square aspect ratio with all of this, but yeah, there's basically no limit to what you can do on this outside display. It's a super screen. It can do whatever you want.
I found out that the Roku TVs don't support Reels. Like, once you try to, well, like, if you already linked your account, well, whenever your YouTube account are linked on the same Wi-Fi, it'll give you a chance to mirror what you're watching, but it won't let you mirror Reels. It might just because we have an old Samsung. That might be it, but let's hop on. Let's continue this video.
Screen to do, but hear me out. I don't actually know if that's what people want, because the more I think about it, just zoom out a little bit with me. Those hot dog style folding phones, like the big folding phones, those are all productivity monsters. You got the screen on the inside and the outside. Those are for people who want to do as much as possible and fit as big of a screen as they possibly can in their pockets.
Artist people.
Great. But then these little flipping phones, they've always been smaller and they've always been a little bit more regular. And I think it's also kind of nice to have a barrier between using your phone and not using your phone. So if there's just something small and there's a notification, you can clear it. But I won't get sucked into like scrolling through TikTok endlessly or Instagram Reels, because I will have to open the phone for that. But now on this one, you can get sucked into TikToks on the outside screen. So is this a good thing? I mean, for me, yeah. I mean, I love having tons of functionality on the outside. The more the better. And they've even built some extra stuff. The whole outside screen can be a viewfinder for the camera. And there's also this half-folded mode that you can use to hold the phone where it feels like an old camcorder from back in the day, but the subject can still see themselves. There's a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, I wonder if the customer of a flipping phone like this actually has that like super high on their priority list, you know? Something to think about. Actually, Motorola literally alongside this phone also announced the new RAZR. So this is the RAZR Plus we've been talking about with the huge screen for $1,000. But the RAZR will come out later this summer, and it's also a folding phone, but with just the tiny 1.5-inch postage stamp size display on the outside, just like from the earliest flipping phones,
Is it
which,
cheaper?
I don't know, just seems to make a lot of sense. And the rest of the phone will have just slightly lower end specs. Like it's a Snapdragon 7
So
Gen
that, at
1.
that point, I think it's gonna be
It's
like
a
600 bucks.
144 hertz internal display instead of
600 bucks,
165.
give or take.
It's 128 gigs of storage instead of 256. It's a vegan leather back instead of a gorilla.
Man, all the specs are going down. Oh, I guess a good $300 phone. 300. I'm guessing 300.
Glass Victus, and it's still IP52 water resistant. But they didn't tell us the price of this phone, so
What? I thought you were gonna tell me, and that's why I was guessing.
I'm guessing, just based on context and knowing that it's probably going to be meaningfully cheaper for this new phone to exist, this might be like a $599 to $799.
I was at first I was right, and then my second guess way off the spectrum. Cause I'm like, how does the regular consumer get into a foldable device? Because foldable just makes it premium. I didn't know that was that premium.
Brand new folding phone. And that's also really interesting. Plus, also because it doesn't have the huge outside screen, it has room for a larger battery, 4,200 milliamp hours, and a larger
Ah,
primary camera, a 64 megapixel camera. So, a little lighter on the wallet, a little bit more space for other things. Kind of interesting. Also, speaking of wallets, this one's a little bit lighter in your pocket too. You can get it at shop.mkbhd.com. But that's it.
no
Let me know what you
shit.
think of the
Really?
giant outside screen.
I like it. I always like it when technology takes a little flip of what we already used to and make it a little more better and fun. But yeah, just going back to your thing. Um, with this flip phone, I really just use it for a webcam. I don't really use it for anything, any consumer use. Um, but yeah, I could most definitely see how I lose so much time by just pushing this button and watching all the notifications go through. Overall, great video. I dipped my toes into that Apple Visions Pro. I'm like, oh my god, technology. All right, guys. If you guys made it this far to this video, please leave a like. It helps the YouTube algorithms push my content and get me more notoriety. Be the word I be used more. All right, guys. Take it easy. Peace.